In this video, we'll learn to use the Photoshop brush tool the easiest way. Welcome to webtrickshome. Hey guys, welcome to webtrickshome. In this video, we'll be talking about the Photoshop brush tool and we'll learn it the easiest way. Let's get started. So you can see the brush tool right beneath the spot healing brush group. Click on it and you can see a couple of options on the top. Let's have a look at the options before we start drawing with the Photoshop brush tool. Alright, so the first option is the brush tape option. You can see a couple of brushes over here, soft round, hard round, and a couple of other options. But before that, you can see the size option over here. This defines the size of the brush stroke you are going to paint. Alright, then you have got the option for hardness, and that will define the hardness of the edges of your brush stroke. If you keep it down to 0 or down to minimum, you can see a lot of blurry areas around the stroke. And with the brush tip options, you can select any of the brush and paint it. Alright, you can use more brushes from the settings options and going down to the brushes list over here, and you can even download brush presets from online sources and load it from here. Whereas you can also create your own brush and use it in your painting, and you can also delete the brush as well from here. Alright, so we'll look at the basic brushes first. Let's select the soft round brush. Then you have got the brush tool presets over here that defines the way brush tool works. Alright, here are the brush tip shape. You can select the brush from here. Let's select a different brush from here for now. So this will be the brush I'll be selecting as of now. Then you can define the size of the brush from here as well, or reset the size to its default size. Then you can tilt the brush horizontally or vertically from here, and you can see the preview here as well. You can play with the angle of your brush stroke. Alright, and then with the roundness as well. Let's keep it to 100%. And you can play with the spacing as well. You can see the spacing between each brush stroke. Let's keep it to minimum. Then you have got the shape dynamics option over here, and that will allow you to randomize the size, angle, and roundness of the brush. Alright, let's delete these things first. Then you can play with the options over here, but before that, let's get it back to 0. You can play with the size randomness over here, keep down to 0 to keep all the strokes of equal size, or increase the size jitter to randomize the size. Alright. Then you can define the minimum diameter of the brush stroke. You can play with the angle as well, randomize the angle or randomize the roundness as well. And you can control this with the pen pressure, stylus wheel, pen tilt, alright. You can define the angle jitter with the direction as well. Let's keep it a bit higher. And you can see the randomness and the angle of the brush changes with the direction of the mouse, alright. So that's how it works. Let's check it off. Then you have got the scattering option, and that will basically randomizes the appearance of the brush stroke. You can define the randomness on both axes X and Y, or on only one side, that's horizontally. Alright, then you can define the count that defines the number of artwork created with each brush stroke. Right, and then you have got the count jitter randomization also, and that can also be controlled with the pen pressure. Then you have got the texture option, and you can add texture to your artwork and use any of the texture from here or create any other patterns, and we have already learned about patterns. Alright, so you can define the scale of the pattern here, brightness and contrast, along with the option to texture is deep, then the blending mode for the pattern. Alright, and then the depth of the pattern. Then another option is the dual brush option, and that allows you to add another brush. Let's select this one, and you can see the appearance of the brush now, right? And then you can define the size of the second brush, spacing, scattering, and count as well. Then you have got the option for color dynamics, and that will define the color of the brush. Alright, let's create two colors. And you can see the color dynamics over here. To check it off, only the front color will be used. And you can play with the hue, saturation, and brightness to create multiple colors apart from these two, right? So you can see here a couple of more colors are created. Randomize the hue, and you can see a whole lot of colors added to the brush stroke. You can also work with the saturation jitter and create further more colors, the brightness option or the purity option, right? So that's how we can randomize the colors here. Let's get it back to normal. Then you have got the transfer option, and that allows you to play with the opacity of your artwork, and you can see here opacity jitter working in between. Alright, you can also play with the flow jitter, right? And these two are quite similar in the way they work, but the opacity option won't allow color depth in single stroke, while flow option allows you to randomize the color depth. Alright, then you have got the option to redefine the brush pose, tilt the brush tip to the x-axis, y-axis, or define the rotation angle or the pressure. Alright, then you have got the noise option, and from this point you don't have any settings to work on. This will basically add grains to your brush tip. Let's select the default brush over here and select the noise, and you can see the grains at the edges. Then you have got the option for wet edges, and that will redefine the tip of the brush. You can also add build-up effect, airbrush effect to your brush stroke. or add smoothing to use your brush more effectively. And then you have got the option to protect texture if you have got any texture over here, so you can see how this works. So these are the brush options, and apart from that you can also redefine the tip from here. Brush presets, you can select the brush tip from here as well. You can see a couple of options over here, right? So this way you can easily use different brushes from here. Here are a couple of predefined settings with these brushes. You can see the changes over here, right? So let's get it back to normal. Then you have got the option for blending mode over here, and here are a lot of options, more than what we saw with the spot healing or healing brush tool. So let's have a look at these one by one. For that, I'll use this image to have a greater impact. Alright, let's choose the default brush, soft front brush, and create a new layer and paint over here. Alright, so this is the normal effect, normal brush stroke. Let's go with the dissolve, and you can see the grain effect over here. Let's save time and draw normal brush stroke over here, and then use the blending modes from here. That will create the same effect after the brush stroke. Alright, so with this blend mode selected, you can see the impact while painting. Alright, but here you can see after painting. So let's see the dissolve here, same effect, right? So then you have got the darken option after that, and we have seen a couple of options already. So basically the darken option reduces the brightness of the artwork, and the lighter color and the artwork is replaced with the brush stroke. Then you have got the multiply option, and this will add darkness and contrast to the artwork by multiplying base color with the blend color. Then you have got the color burn option, and this will darken the base color and add saturation and contrast to the artwork. Then you have got the linear burn option, and this will add the darkness and fade effect by decreasing the brightness. Then you have got the darker color option, and this will blend the artwork color with the base color and displace the dark colors. Then you have got the lighten option, and that will be the opposite of darker, and this will display the brighter color while adding some brightness to the artwork. Then you have got the screen option, and this will add brightness and fade effect to the artwork. Then you have got color dodge, and this adds brightness and reduces contrast from the stroke. Then you have got linear dodge, and this will simply add brightness to your artwork. Then you have got the lighter color option, and this will display the lighter color between the brush stroke and the image. Then you have got the overlay option, and in this blending mode the darker color gets more darker and the brighter color gets more brighter, and contrast is added to the brush stroke. Then you have got the soft light option, and this is quite similar to overlay, but it will produce a soft faded effect than the sharp contrast effect created by the overlay. Then you have got the highlight option, and this will add more brightness and darkness to the stroke by multiplying the darker colors and screening the lighter ones. Then you have got the vivid light option, and this will add or reduce contrast on the artwork depending upon the color value. Then you have got linear light option, and that will lighten the lighter pixels and darken the darker pixels. Then you have got the pale light option, and that will replace colors depending upon the artwork color. If the artwork color is lighter, the darker colors are replaced, while the lighter colors are replaced when the artwork color is darker. Alright. Then you have got the hard mix option, and this will change all stroke color to primary colors by adding its color value to the base color value. Then you have got the difference option, and this will produce another set of color by subtracting the lower color values from the high colors values between the base color and the stroke color. Then you have got the exclusion option, and this creates a quite similar result to the difference mode but with lower contrast. Then you have got the subtract option, and that will subtract the stroke color from the base color and recreate another color. Then you have got divide, and this will create another set of color by dividing the stroke color from the base color. Then you have got the hue option, that will create another color by blending the brightness and saturation of the base color with the hue of the stroke color. Then you have got the saturation option, and that will also create another set of color by blending the brightness and hue of the base color with the saturation of the stroke color. Then you have got the color option, that will also create a separate set of color by blending the brightness of the base color to the hue and saturation of the stroke. Then you have got the luminosity, and this will also create another set of color by blending the hue and saturation of the base color with the brightness of the stroke color. Right, and so these are the blending options available with the brush tool in Photoshop. Alright, so let's get back to the blank document, and let's look at the opacity, pressure, flow, and airbrush effect over here. So here's the opacity option, and that will define the opacity of the brush stroke. You can see here, and with the opacity, if you move your brush back and forth in the same area, that's not going to add thickness to the artwork. Alright, but if you release the mouse and paint it again to the same area, that's going to add thickness to the color. And here's the pressure option for opacity if you're using the tablet. And then there's the flow option, and that's quite opposite to the opacity. With the flow option, the result is the same, but if you go back and forth in the document without releasing the mouse, the thickness of the color in the artwork will increase. Alright, then you have got the airbrush effect over here, that will add a little bit of blurriness around the edges. And then you have got the option for tablet to define the pressure for the size. So you can use the pressure for opacity or size while working with brush. Alright, let's set it back to 100%. Let's check it off. So you can use any set of brush from here and create artworks. You can also go to your library and see here I've got some hairbrushes. I'll want to append it to the existing one. And you can see a couple of hairbrushes available over here. Reduce the size with the break bracket open and close key, and you can see hair was created with this one. Let's see, it's a black color, and you can see the hairbrush. Alright, so you have got a couple of brushes over here you can use on your artworks, or you can also create a brush on your own. Let's create one artwork or one brush tip with the custom set tool. Then let's say I want to add butterfly. Turn off the stroke and use black color for the shape. Add a bit more butterflies in and around so that we can create multiple butterflies in a single stroke. Okay, let's merge all of them with layer merge or Control E from your keyboard. Then select the artwork and go with edit, define brush preset, and let's name it butterfly. So that's done. Let's go to the brush option again and have a look at the bottom, and you can see option butterfly appears over here, and you can create multiple impacts with this one. Right, we have already seen in the preset we can define the appearance of the stroke of here. So we'll go here to the brush tip shape. We can define the spacing, right, so that it appears like this. Then we can also define the scattering. Okay, that looks good. Then you can go with the texture, brush, color dynamics, and everything else. Alright, so that's how you can create your own brush shape with Photoshop. Let's close this one. So let's use the brush tool to add hair to this guy over here. Alright, since I've already got hair brushes over here, I'd have opted to go with one of the hairstyle over here. Let's see how it looks. Let's create a new layer first and then go with the hairstyle over here. Let's add it over here, and then we can change its appearance with Control T. Then we can warp, right? So we can simply play with the options available to us over here and add a beautiful hairstyle to this person. Alright, but instead of doing this, I'd love to add a hairstyle by painting on top of it. Alright, so let's have a look how we can paint it. Let's get it back to normal and let's start painting now. So the first thing I'd like to do is use the default brush and then add a new layer to define the area where we would like to paint hair. You can hold the Alt key or Option key on your keyboard and click on any area to select the foreground color to be used on the brush, right? And while painting with the brush, you'll need to go very slow with multiple steps so that you can always come one step back. And let's paint the area where I want to add here. That's simply to turn it into a selection area and then paint on that area, right? So that'll be the area where I'll be drawing hair on this image. Let's create a new layer and then turn it into a selection area. Then we can go with the brush preset and then select the brush we want to use to draw the hair. So let's start painting here. I'll want it shorter, so I'll be drawing shorter strokes over here. Let's work on different layers for different areas of the hair, right? So I'm creating shorter hair over here. Let's create a new layer for the other side. Then simply toss up your hairbrush, alright. So you can go with single strands over here and make it look more realistic. Alright, I'm ending this video over here, and from here onwards you can work on your own and make it look more realistic. So here's the before and here's the after. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe our channel for more videos. Thank you.